Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas, and we have got our March 2nd Bracketology update. We are approaching, or we're at really, the beginning of the final week of the regular season, and then we have conference tournaments for all the power conference starting next week. Don't sleep on this week. We have got conference tournaments starting as early as today. The Horizon League has got their opening round today. Do most people care? No, but that means something to me. But let's just get right into it. I'll be breaking down my top four seed lines in order within each seed line. So let's get straight into it, starting off with the one seeds. This should not be much of a surprise. I've got Duke as my number one overall seed, followed by Michigan at 2 and Arizona at 3. I'm not sure I need to do much explaining for why those are my top three. Those three have really separated themselves at this point in the season as the best three teams in the country. And then my fourth one seed, we're at the point now where it's UConn versus Florida. And for me right now, it's UConn. If they had lost on Saturday, because they had that close game against Seton Hall at home, then it would be the Gators. They're really close with Florida. And I mean, to me right now, if you follow my pages, like I currently think that Florida is playing like the best team in the country. I think that Florida is better than UConn at this point in the year, but because of the resumes and obviously the head-to-head that UConn has over the Gators, unless UConn loses a game and Florida wins out, they're not going to drop that one seed. Right? If both teams win out, Florida's not going to overtake the Huskies for that fourth one. So as long as UConn handles business, beats Marquette this upcoming week, and then wins the Big East tournament, they will retain that number one seed. And going on to the twos, this is where I have Florida. They're my top number two seed after this dominant week. They're fourth in the net and in Ken Palm right now. They're just decapitating everybody. Right, and their guards have really come along. The three-point shooting is much improved. I think it could be back-to-back time in Gainesville for the Gators. And I have Houston as my next two seed. They lost their shot at a one, I think, unless barring, they go win the Big 12 and you get a bunch of help, some losses in front of you. But they're seventh in the net, sixth in Ken Palm. The Cougars are still a very dangerous team. Illinois is my third two seed. They're at fifth in the net and in Ken Palm. They have a really good offense. The Illini do. Their defense is getting exposed just a little bit. It has been it's been a rough 2 weeks schedule wise for Illinois, but that team, they've taken some losses. I think it's still a really good squad. I had them on the two line. And then Michigan State is my final two seed. They're 11th in the net and ninth in Ken Palm. I was pretty impressed with their win over Indiana. I know the Hoosiers aren't very good, but I mean, you saw Purdue go on the road to a iffy Big Ten team and lose. Michigan State won on the road to Indiana, another iffy Big Ten team who was kind of flirting with the bubble, and they really never let them get close. They kept them at arm's length the entire time. I think Michigan State is a legitimate threat in the Big Ten tournament, but obviously we know they have to get by Michigan to get any of that done. But those are my threes: my two, excuse me, Florida, Illinois, Houston, and Michigan State. Then going to my three seeds at my top three spot, I have Iowa State. They have a shot against Arizona tonight to climb and maybe take one of those two seed spots from either Michigan State or Illinois, but they're 10th in the net, 7th in Ken Palm. Iowa State is looking to make some noise in the Big 12 to end this year. Then I got Kansas as my next three seed, another Big 12 team. They're 15th in the net, 16th in Ken Palm. They're starting to kind of figure it out. I think, the whole Darren Peterson thing, what team are you getting day in, day out? I think they're trying to figure that out. Kansas could be really a big time threat in March Madness. Nebraska is my next three seed. They're 12th in the net and 11th in Ken Palm. The Huskers had a good win at Minnesota this past weekend, and they're looking like one of the stronger Big Ten teams, probably not a threat to go win that conference tournament, but I do believe they will finally pick up their first ever tournament win this year. And then my final three seed is Purdue. I don't like Purdue. I don't like them. They're ninth in the net, eighth in Ken Palm. But, preseason number one to a bunch of these home losses. And look, Braden Smith is a good player. Trey Kaufman-Wren is a good player. Matt Painter is a good coach. I think a lot of their pedigree for really all those guys in their whole program is just coming from longevity, right? Those guys have been there for a while. So, of course, you're going to have a bunch of wins compared to the rest of coaches in the Big Ten. If you're Braden Smith, you're going to have all these assists. You trade off a ring, you're going to have all these points. I'm not trying to diminish that these are really good players who are up there for a reason, but I only value experience and keep retaining a same core if that core has done something. Retaining a core that loses in the second weekend every time doesn't do anything for me. So for that reason, I'm not a huge fan of Purdue, but I do have them on my three line. And then moving on to the fours here, my top four seed is Alabama. I think they're the most dangerous team in the country. That does not mean best. Most dangerous in my mind. This is because they can shoot the three. They can score 60 points in the half. They're never out of a game. That's why I say they're the most dangerous team. They're 16th overall in the net and 15th in Ken Palm. My next four seed is Texas Tech. Now this team, the Red Raiders, I think they're riding a bit of an adrenaline rush right now after losing JT Toppin because, guys like Christian Anderson, the rest of that team, you saw how well they shot on Saturday. I think they're just sort of riding an adrenaline rush right now. When you get to the conference tournament and then you have some days off before the March Madness, this is still a really good team, but I think their lack of depth is going to show once we're a few more games removed from the top of an injury. But right now, Texas Tech, they're 13th in the net, and in Ken Palm, I have them on the 4 line. My third 4 seed is Virginia. The Duke game on Saturday is kind of whatever to me. Right, I mean, you had to go to Cameron Indoor. Duke has separated themselves really from the ACC, but really from the rest of the country too. I don't hold that against them too much at all. I still have the Who's on the 4 line, 14th in the net and 17th in the Ken Palm for them. And then my final four is Arkansas. Very same story as Virginia. I mean, Florida has separated from the SEC. I'm not going to kill them for the road loss. 19th in the net and 20th in the Ken Palm for the Razorbacks. I believe they have the talented core. The depth is a bit of an issue, it's 7-man rotation, but I still had them as my final 4 seed with, some room to fall. The Hogs could easily get out of that by Selection Sunday. But that'll do it. Those are my top 4 seed lines as we are heading into the final week of the regular season. I mean, this whole thing is heating up. So if you want some more of this basketball bracketology coverage, just game previews and recaps, I'll be doing all of that on my YouTube and on my Twitter, so follow me on both. I have been Will Thomas, and thank you so much for watching this episode of Tailgate Talk SEC.